course, Christmas has come early. We have, on Monday, more Mark Meadows texts. Fun. Okay, so now Talking Points Memo has recently announced that it obtained more than 2,000 text messages that former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows had given to the House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 Capitol insurrection. That was, of course, before Mark Meadows decided to no longer, cooperate with said investigation. So now, the text messages, again, there's a lot, and Talking Points Memo is still going through a bunch of them. But what we have so far are some pretty unhinged ones about trying to steal the election for Donald Trump. And some of them verge into I guess the area of sedition. That said, let's get into it. Now, from Talking Points Memo, after Election Day 2020, various Republican lawmakers had pushed the idea that Vice President Mike Pence,
Mike Pounds.
Yeah. Could, get authority to basically cancel the election. And cancel the certification and, hand power over to Donald Trump. Now, of course, in the real world, in the Constitution, the vice president does not have that power. It's merely a ceremonial role. But, Republicans, and mind you, this isn't just rando Republican on the street. This is, we have been elected to higher office, so we should probably know the Constitution because we always talk about it all the time about how, Democrats, they hate the Constitution. They don't know what's in the Constitution. You literally don't know what's in the Constitution. You don't know what Vice President Mike Pence's job is. You don't know the limits of his authority. Anyway, so that said, they believe that, Pence, who was presiding over the election certification, could just not do it, and then somehow magically Donald Trump would continue to be president. That was one problem. Another problem is afterwards, these lawmakers believed that Republican-controlled legislatures in states that Biden had won could just throw out those results and, recognize alternative slates of fake electors. These are, again, not the real electors. These are fake electors who, no matter what the actual results of the election, whether it be, Biden or Trump, they just feel like, well, automatically Donald Trump, obviously, because we're hacks, we're phonies, we're fakes, we're partisans. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do what they tell us to. And that's put in electoral college votes for Donald Trump so that he can steal the election and be dictator. So there it is. Now, look, there's a name to this: Green Bay sweep. This is the thing that Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon openly bragged about. So it's not like we didn't know about this. They were quite open about it, how they wanted to upend democracy and steal elections. The same thing, of course, they're accusing Democrats of doing in this election. But every accusation, of course, is a confession. So now, it's one thing, of course, where idiots like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro openly talk about this and brag about it and write it in their books. It's another thing when, Republican congressmen who actually have power talk about this. And that's what they did in these text messages. In fact, Representative Ralph Norman from Texas said this. Here's one of his texts. Mark, in seeing what's happening so quickly and reading about the Dominion lawsuits attempting to stop any meaningful investigation, we are at a point of no return in saving our republic. Our last hope is invoking martial law. Please urge President to do so. Now, it's fun to point out that martial law was spelled incorrectly. Because, of course, it was. Clown, moron, idiot, stupid, dumbest people alive. But dumb people, and unfortunately in positions of power. So martial law, literally bringing in the military to make sure Donald Trump stays president. To take it over for Donald Trump. It's crazy. Oh, but there's more. There's more. He said this, guys, if there was ever a time to stand with our leader who has strengthened our military, Bruh. I mean, the whole point of strengthening our military. What does Congress do every time there's a military appropriations bill? When there's a chance to shovel more money at the military, what happens? Under both parties, they keep shoveling more. The last NDAA gave the military, the Pentagon budget, like something like $83 billion more than they had previously asked for. The military budget is now over $863 billion. This is more than most other countries combined military spending. But it was Donald Trump that strengthened the military. No, both members of both parties can't wait to shovel more money into the military-industrial complex because guess what? That's a lot of where their donors are at. They all do it. But no, Donald Trump strengthened the military somehow by doing what every single president for a long time, decades and decades, has done, and shovel more money at the military. Okay, anyway. So now he said this, or I should say he continued. Guys, if there was ever a time to stand with our leaders, strengthen our military, stood for the life of the unborn, supported Israel, of course, built the wall, which he didn't, appointed conservative judges. Well, he actually did do that. Fair enough. We're factual on this show. Yes, he did appoint conservative judges. And we are all, feeling the consequences of that one, especially if you're somebody with a uterus. You're definitely feeling those consequences. And then says, and we lay down and abandon him just because the biased media has call, I'm reading it verbatim, call the election.
This election is about the people.
Biased media. Like Fox News. Biased media. I can't believe the biased media would actually say things that we don't like. That must be that they're against us because they didn't give us or tell us the result that we wanted. No, that just means they're being factual because they're forced to be factual. But of course, now he added, now's the time to fight and advocate for a recount in Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. I don't have problems with recounts, especially in close elections. I think, yeah, that's totally fine. You have the power to do that. But then added, I will go anywhere, anytime to help our cause. Bottom line, it's time we fight for the one person who has changed this country way too soon to give in now. All right. But there's more. Representative Brian Babin of Texas. There's a lot of people from Texas. Texas, what are you doing? Mark, when we lose Trump, we lose our republic. Fight like hell and find a way. We're with you down here in Texas and refuse to live under a corrupt Marxist dictatorship. Liberty! I'm not kidding. At the end of that text, liberty. Stupid. Oh my God. That by the way, that's why we want you to overturn the will of the people in the election, because we believe in liberty. Okay, guys. Representative Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania. We're in Philadelphia suing Pennsylvania Secretary of State for illegal meddling in this election, and will continue to expose fraudulent actions. Let me know if there's anything I can do to fight these MFers in PA. Our president is heroic. Bunker bitch. They're talking about bunker bitch. The guy who hid in the bunker. Yeah, okay. And then, by the way, I will walk down with you to Pennsylvania Avenue. And then, what did he do? He walked right back to, the White House to go eat a hamburger. That's what he did. And watch TV. Of course, he had to watch TV. Thank you for all you've done, and please let the president know just how much he's loved and appreciated in Pennsylvania. Sincerely, Mike Kelly.
Beta male.
Okay. Keep kissing that ass. Here's Representative Louis Gohmert. Our favorite moron. Which, by the way, used to be, he was like the dumbest person in Congress. Not anymore. I mean, we haven't heard a lot from him because all the stuff that he said that back in the day was, everybody's like, oh my God, that's insane. Now it's just like, it's like mid-tier. You know, it's not even, it's hardly worth covering anymore with like the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Louis, you got to step up your game, brother. You're just being outclassed by insanity. Outclassed. Here's what he said. Mark, Love for Growth wanted me to help in Georgia December 11 and 12 on their bus tour. Ugh. Imagine the smell inside that bus. I've also been asked to help this weekend while I'm still trying to spur people to get real winner of Prez recognized, since without the Prez officially reelected, we're done. Would it be possible to ride Air Force One to Georgia on Saturday? He wants a personal ride to on Air Force One to Georgia. I'd only need a ride down since I'd stay there longer. Pay for your own fucking ride. Also, if Prez had any time I could drop by today, would love to see you both. Thanks, Louis. Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona. When is the 45 days up? What date starts the clock? November 3rd? If it is, then that is December 18th. China bought Dominion in October for $400 million. If that's not interference, then should have a report with details and specifics that would validate that either way. And if they didn't, call me. I have some fireworks coming out of Arizona early tomorrow. Call me anytime. I'm up. Fun. Very, very fun. Let me just note that Dominion is not owned by China. Okay. In fact, they don't even have, they don't have Chinese investors. So, I mean, just weirdo stuff. I mean, the conspiracy theory. You're going to love the name of a conspiracy blog, by the way, that one of them shared in these text messages, but we'll get to that. Representative Andrew Clyde of Georgia. Here's what he said. I would like to pass the POTUS that we are still with him. I believe in him, and I want to encourage him. I will do my best to continue to fight for election integrity by, trying to help steal an election based on nonsense. I truly hope he does create a new platform to compete with Twitter, and I hope he calls it Trumpet. And then we can send out notes to each other. Notes, little love letters or something. I mean,
Beta male. Beta.
Oh, jeez. Trumpet? Trumpet. Wow. Now, of course, he kind of got his wish. It's not called Trumpet, but we got
Truth Central.
There you go. Truth Central. Now we have, of course, a man who covered up sex crimes in Ohio, Representative Jim Jordan. Here's what he said. His text. Vice President Mike Pence should call out all electoral votes that he believes are unconstitutional as no electoral votes at all. He can't do that. That's not his thing. He doesn't have any powers. But then they try to justify it by saying, well, he does have powers because look at this. Alexander Hamilton, the Federalist Papers, and goes on to cite it. Following this rationale, he says, an unconstitutionally appointed elector, like an unconstitutionally enacted statute, is no elector at all. Well, that would mean that your fake electors are not electors at all, because that's what they are. They're fake and unconstitutionally appointed. Just saying. So that said, Did Alexander Hamilton write that actions violative of the Constitution are invalid? Yes, he did. He also wrote that federal courts would be the arbiters of that in such an instance and not the vice president of the United States. You know, it's this whole little thing called checks and balances. They should really look into it. You know, the thing called the Constitution that they love to cite but never really actually know what's in it. Kind of like the Bible. But okay, all right. Now, that said, they did bring it to the courts. And the courts did rule on it like 60 times. They lost. And by the way, the Supreme Court said, we're not even touching this. We're not, no, we're getting it. We're not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. We're getting nowhere near this, okay? Not touching it. Now, look, that's just a small taste of some of the texts. Many of them, of course, are filled with some links to far-right websites, of course. Weird, questionable legal theories, as I've given you. And violent rhetoric, as well as advocacy for unconstitutional power grabs, as usual, unsurprising. But one example that I absolutely love, is for the allegations of voter fraud, what Paul Gosar sent Mark Meadows a link to. A blog called, I kid you not, Some Bitch Told Me. Hey, did you know that, oh man, there's so much good information about how we caught voter fraud in a blog called Some Bitch Told Me. Look, I can't. Stupid. It's just it's so incredibly dumb. Stupid. I can't believe it.
You idiot.
No. These are Republican elected officials. You guys. Republican elected officials. And look, these are bad, obviously, but of course the worst, going back to Ralph Norman, was wanting to use the military to declare martial law to prevent the lawfully elected president from assuming office. You know what that's called? It's called a coup. That's what that is. It's a coup. And yet, not one of these officials is facing any consequences for calling for the overthrow of our government and trying and plotting to, hand a presidency over to somebody who didn't actually win it. These are elected officials. Look, I understand, the whole issue of, these texts being free speech, right? Free speech as a citizen means the government can't come after you for a redress of your grievances. I believe in free speech. I actually understand the reality of what free speech is. That said, I think there's a different standard when it comes to serving in government. When you not only call for, but you actually work towards attempting to, overthrow said government that you work for, I'm thinking there might be some sort of, or should be some sort of consequence for that, which, by the way, is written in the Constitution, which prevents them, if enacted, from holding elected office again. Because it's very, very clear to me that they don't believe in the same government, the very government that they have been elected to serve, and would gladly turn it into a fascist dictatorship if they had the chance.